In today's video, I'll be walking you through my photo editing process for self-portraits. If you've been following along throughout the month of October, my friends and I are doing a series called FrightFemmes, where each week we create a makeup, costume, look for Halloween, and each week has a different theme. For week 3, our theme was Fairies and Nymphs. This was the look that I came up with. I was aiming for like a lagoon fairy type of vibe. So for this photo, I really wanted to edit the background to feel whimsical, a little bit more painterly, almost like I'm in a forest or in a lagoon. So I want to take you through the process of how I went from this to this. This is the final result that I will be posting. It should be up already on the blog. I'll leave a link down below, and I will also link CARO and RUTHMARIE's blogs and check out their looks, which are also amazing, I might add. So this photo on the left is already slightly edited. I have added a filter, I've added a bit of glow and some sparkle details. I'm going for that fairy core aesthetic on this photo, but I did want to change up the background a little and add some artwork, kind of painterly vibe. So I'm gonna take you through my process. I did do this on Procreate, although I would recommend using Photoshop. It's just a little bit more professional. But there is a way of doing this on Procreate, and I know a lot of you have Procreate and enjoy using it, so I figured I would share my process. So if you're interested in seeing exactly how I achieved this background design, I'm happy to walk you through all the steps. The first thing you want to do is open up your original photo in Procreate as its own canvas. The next thing we're going to do is bring in the artwork that we're going to be placing in our background. So to source my background images, I like to go to the Met Museum website. They have a ton of images that you can look through that are royalty-free and open access that you can easily download. So what you're going to want to do is go to metmuseum.org, you're going to go to art, and then you can search the entire collection with keywords. In my case, I typed in flowers, and then you can even filter by type. So I've went ahead and filtered by paintings because I know that's the style I want. Really important, you want to make sure that you tap on open access. So as long as you're in open access, any of these images that pop up in your search result you can use for your projects, for any kind of design work, photography, whatever you want, and it's royalty-free, open access. In my case, I went ahead and selected this painting right here. You can tap on the painting you want to download. Again, you want to make sure that it's under public domain. And you can tap on this download arrow right here, tap to hold, and press add to photos, and it will be saved to your camera roll. Then you can go back to Procreate and import that photo by tapping on the wrench, insert a photo. And once you insert the photo onto your canvas, it will appear as a separate layer. At this point, you can start playing around with the blending mode. There are tons of different blending modes you can play with, a lot like Photoshop. And obviously this will depend on your specific photo. It will depend on the color of your background and also the tones in the painting. In my particular case, I decided to go for pin light. I liked the way the pink kind of hues of my background peeked through a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and lower the opacity a little so it's just easier to see. Transform, and we're gonna start placing it. So I like to pinch the canvas a little smaller so I can see exactly where I'm placing it. And you can just rearrange this in a way that makes most sense and tap to place. Once you have the background image placed where you want it, we're going to be creating a layer mask. So to do that, open the layers panel, tap on the background image and tap on mask. Next, you're going to want to choose a brush with a soft edge. I like to use soft airbrush for this. Another thing to note is that black will remove parts of the background image and white will restore. So that's an easy way to remember when you're creating a layer mask and painting over a mask. Remember, black removes and white restores. We're going to go for black because we want to remove these areas over my face and body. I'm going to zoom in and I'll show you how it just erases that background area. Once you get to an edge that's a little more tricky, for example, my shoulder, I like to lower the opacity even further, make the brush size a bit smaller, and I also play with the opacity of the brush. And I'll just get right in there. And this is the most tedious part. And for example, in my case, I'm wearing this crown with the wings, the cellophane wings. You want to kind of just be really careful along these edges. What I do is create kind of like a general outline first, and then I'll come back in and really fix up all those areas. Let's make the opacity a little higher. So I'll just continue to paint over the mask using black to remove parts of the background area that I don't want to be covering my body. And because I'm using the pencil, it is pressure sensitive, so as you get to these edges, you can lower the pressure on the pencil a bit, and it will create more of a diffused edge. But you'll see as you get to the edges, you want to be super precise. So let's say go like this, and by accident, I erase too much of the background and I want to restore some of that. All I do is go to my brush and set the color to white, and then paint right back over it. So again, white restores and black removes. So back to black to remove. Let's say I went a little too overboard here. Go back to white and restore. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the rest of this image, and I'll be right back. In some cases, it does help to also turn off your original photo, and that will help show you areas of the background image that you haven't masked over. Now, in some cases, depending on the blending mode, you won't need to mask over every area, but if you can tell right here, there's some green peeking through my hair, so I definitely want to go back and mask those areas. So I really enjoy this process, but it can be quite time consuming, especially if you have more than one photo to edit. But I do think that it's a good way of practicing with the Apple Pencil and just getting very comfortable using the tools. So I'm pretty happy with the way this is looking so far. At this point, I do want to kind of add a bit more of this blue tone to this area over here. So to do that, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to select a color. To select a color, you can zoom in, you can tap on this square and tap anywhere on the screen, and it will select that color, and then you can save it to your palette here. And I just want to paint a bit over this pink area. So I'm going to grab a brush, maybe something in the painting. I do like to use the Gouache Brush for this, and then just quickly add a bit of color to those areas here, a bit here, maybe some over here. And I don't want to cover every piece of background that's showing through because I do kind of like the variation, maybe a bit right here. And then I also add a blending mode to this. I will put it at hue in my case, but you can also play around with all the blending modes here. I'm gonna make it maybe a little less intense. The blending mode on my background, I'm gonna set to 80 to kind of fade it into the background a bit more. And that's pretty much it. As far as the layer masking, and you can add in as much detail as you want. All right, and this is the final image. All I did to this was throw it in VSCO and Lightroom and played around with some of the tones of the colors. I thought that adding a bit more of like a green, minty green kind of saturation would help my look blend a bit better with the background now. So here it is with the final filter, and here it is without, just so you can see how with the final edit, it kind of all blends together a little nicer. In this version, the tones of my skin are a bit too warm in comparison to the background. So this just kind of like evens the image out and creates a nice cohesive look. So I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial. If you have any questions, let me know down below. Again, I will link the FrightFemmes collab with Gato and RUTHMARIE in the description box, as well as the link to my blog where you can see the rest of the photos from this shoot. Be sure to follow us along on Instagram where you can see tons of reels and behind the scenes stories. We constantly post throughout the month of October, so hope to see you there. In the meantime, you can take a peek at all of the looks we've already created this year, as well as last year and years prior. Everything will be linked in the description. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!